Let there be light, and there was light. Words of the said God, Mother Eve. All right, so thank you for joining us again. And if you're new to this channel, this is where we have fun with words and numbers. Okay, so I am Crimey Queen, of course, and this is Mother Eve. Of course, this is a sacrifice template, and we call upon revelation, water, and intuition. Of course, we have we haven't done this for a while, calling on intuition, but this is what Mother Eve is really beckoning us to do right now. Call things into being. Call. This is where we are in the era of the called God, basically, and the called God has the numerical value of 10. Okay. Um, of course, that makes perfect sense because I had been making, or I tried making this association as well. I think I have covered it before, but it's also good to do this again. So the called God has a numerical value of 10. And according to Mother Eve, we are at this point on the sacrifice template. We have completed this from 5 to 9, which is 9 is beginning and 5 is ending. But however, we have moved into this. So basically, it seemed like this cycle was, I'm trying to do this, and um, let's see if I can draw this cycle. So we had been in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and this is where we recognize Mother Eve and Christ in 5, and because that is where we come to the end of a cycle. We come to the end. This is the end, that when you are in Christ, you are a new creature. This is where Christ says, where you accept the Christ spirit within you. Basically, when you have an awakening, or when you have a kundalini, that's the Christ spirit in you. And of course, it doesn't just mean that you just have the Christ spirit. What do you do with the Christ spirit as well? So, for instance, Christ, of course, says, I go to prepare a place for you. So basically, there is another intention or action that follows, because the spirit moves. The spirit, of course, moves upon the face of the deep. So there we are expected to move, or to react, and that's where creation comes. So we were in this 5, and of course we got to 9. Of course, if you are new to this, 1 is where we do our jazz. 2 is the column of where you go into partnership and agreement, and like Christ did with the disciples. This is where the breaking of bread was. This is where the 13 sat at the table. So basically, this is also symbolic of having the disciples in twos, or they would be sent to different places in twos, or like Noah was instructed to take the animals in the ark in twos. So in twos, of course, has the same vibration as the number 13. So basically, this is why it's good for us to understand numerology, because otherwise we probably wouldn't think 2 had anything to do with 13, which is really one and the same in this sense. And that's why as well, I believe Christ said, where 1 and 2 are gathered, or 2 or more are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst of them. Of course, we have seen 1 as 7, and 7 also, when we do the numerical value for the word 7, it gives us 20. So it has got that numerical value of 2. This is what is important for us to understand. 7 in itself is also 1, so we could see ONE equals 655 is 16, 1 plus 6 is 7. So 7 of course has the numerical value of 2. Now that in itself tells us as well that we are of the two sets of the 40 of the two sets of the 7 gods. So we are the makeup of the 14 gods here, and that is that makeup consists of 1, which we say is one God. But basically this one God, the said God, Mother Eve, has got is the makeup of 14 gods, including Mother Eve, of course. Like with Christ, the representation here is very clear of 13 at the table. So basically, when Christ now died and rose from the dead, rose from the grave, that would be the in Christianity encapsulates that oneness or one God. It's not explained like that, but I am showing the correlation here. So basically, it is the 14. So Christ, of course, has rose and become a new. So there we are. He came like man, but then being risen from the dead or from the grave was a new being, a new supreme being. So this is where we see that the 14 gods and Mother Eve, or 13 gods with Mother Eve, as supreme being in this sense. And we mean the source, we mean the Eve, that which is before any event takes place. That's the meaning of Eve. So that's very important, but I really was trying to show the cycles there. So there we see the cycle now came this way. So I am going this way because whenever there is change, this is what I am getting now. We need to go to Mother Eve for change. We need to understand, and this is perhaps what we need to be doing each time. I believe that is the pattern that follows from number 4. But while I am talking about 4, is that when we add these digits together, 1, 2, 3, 4, that gives us 10. So we can see when we are igniting on the called God, CALLED, which Mother Eve beckons us to do. And there's something I've just noticed as well, because we have the called God. The first God that showed up in Genesis of chapter 1 is the created God. And this time now we are with the called God. So it seems like the letter C in itself is very symbolic and very prominent in creation and reaction. So let's look at this. So 1, 3, 3, 5, 4. If we add these together, we have 10, 16, and 19. 1 plus 9 is 10. So here we see that we are in this position of the 4. This is where Mother Eve is really asking us to, we are building our foundation here in number 4, which coincides with number 8, because Mother Eve, of course, who ate of the fruit of good and evil. This is what we are doing. We cannot create unless we know good and evil, unless we understand and bring those two into equilibrium. And you may say, well, how do you bring good and evil into equilibrium? This is perhaps why in the teaching of Christ as well, where he says, love your enemy and judge not, and gave the commands as well as saying, love the Lord thy God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. So these are and these are scriptures that are meant to convey the meaning of our position or our journey in understanding number 8 and understanding number 4 in this sense as well. Well, all the numbers, but more so, of course. We see 12, which Christ had 12 disciples. That in itself tells us about the number 3, which is the first letter Mother Eve utters when she says, let there be light. So we see the word let, however, also coincides with the called God, because the called God, of course, the word let's just stick it here so you can see, is 2, 5, 3. So adding this together equals 10. So we can see how 10 and the called God is coinciding perfectly. Basically, there were 8 of these lettings. And I use the word lettings because it seemed like a business. And Mother Eve was really about a business of creation, and of course sublet, if you like, or gave contracts to the gods, the 13 gods or the 14 gods, because there is another god here, including Mother Eve, of course. So Mother Eve gave contracts, and of course to the witty invention of Mother Eve to show the how creation is taking place here as well. Using the word contracts, of course, we have the word con, meaning to, in fact, I came across the word cunning. It's cunning in the scriptures, and where God is saying, I'm going to be doing something cunning. So we could see in this cunning way is the contracts of Mother Eve, and this cunning was used as what one would say in a positive way. Why would cunning seem positive in any sense of the word? But however, that's what we see with the word contracts. There was con, and we use the word con. In fact, is very common in names of for snakes as well, like boa constrictor, or I don't know many of the names, but I'm just giving this as an example now. So the serpent or snake, which I see as one and the same, but the serpent was that which is elevated. So the serpent is a snake that has been elevated or was elevated before its fall to the ground. And that's Mother Eve's. That analogy is Mother Eve, who came to us, or who was like to us as the said God. So as the said God, of course, has the numerical value of 6, but we see that the said S has that serpent, that snake effect right here, and the snake has come to aid us. So when we are talking about Satan, for instance, we see there is a correlation here as well. So Satan and the time here really, I think, speaks volume in the sense that it's at ground level. The ground is where it's considered dark, or the serpent as well, or the snake is it goes in its hole or dark area. So this is why it is said that Satan was the serpent in the Garden of Eden, but what we had not been taught is that Satan is the said God, is Mother Eve, is also Mother Eve in the garden. So this has a numerical value of 6. Of course, this has a numerical value of 10, which is 1, 5. Adding these together, 8 plus 2 is 10. So we see this is 10 here. But however, we also know when we do the numerical value for the word 10, 5 plus 5 plus 2, this gives us 12. Of course, this in itself gives us the whole story about Mother Eve's spell when she says, "Let there be light," and there was light, because the first word let, L-E-T, which I won't do the numerical value anymore, it equals 12, it equals 10, sorry, 3 plus 5, 8 plus 2, so that's 10, it equals 10, and the sentence which contains four words, let there be light, it's right here, let there be light. The first sentence is of 4 words which coincides with our position here. Basically, we are saying let there be light, but our creation and reaction is going to be the evidence of what is going to be said. And there was light, because this is how Mother Eve has invited us into this creation to say, let us make man in our image after our likeness. So let there be light, and there was light. Everything and was encapsulated in that first spell. Basically, this is like a cake. I continue to use the analogy of a cake. So the cake is that it has, you bake or whisk, mix everything in a bowl, but it's when it gets heated in the oven, and with the rising agent it takes its rise, and then it becomes that cake. But all the ingredients were already there in that cake. So all the ingredients of the spells and contracts of Mother Eve has been in the first letter right here, which is 1 motion, 2 directions, and 3 points right here in that L. And it has the numerical value of 3. So here we see when we add 10, of course, add these numbers, which gives us 12. 1 plus 2 equals 3. This 3 here is the letter. So we can see that this sentence is like the cake had been half risen, if you like. The cake had been half risen here, and that encapsulates this. So 10 basically is let there be light. Let there be light has the numerical value of both 10 and 12. So this is where it's important for us to understand that we have two, like just as we have two main stimuli or instruments that we use for language to vibrate our frequency on, so numbers and words, it's important that we understand that they are interrelated, but while they are interrelated, they have profound impact on us, and it's important we get to understand how they impact on us so we can be conscious of that which we create in God's image and likeness, or after our likeness, because we can only create after our likeness. everything we do is only after meaning what we are. So even that which we feel if is of somebody else that we have borrowed, but the mere fact that we borrowed, there's the element of ourselves in borrow. Um, we are still exhibiting that which we are. Okay, so we can see, basically I would like to say that the serpent, Satan as the serpent, which is 7, had come to aid us. And I may expand on this in another presentation, because I really want to keep the presentations at watchable sizes. So as the aid, our aid here, our aids, which is AID, we have 10. This is 9 plus 1. So in case you are new to this, so this is 1, this is 2, and D is 4. And adding this together is 6 plus 1 is 7. Oh, this is 9. Sorry, this is not 2, this is 9. So this is actually 14. So we have been talking right here. This is another way of seeing to perfection how Mother Eve encapsulates all the 14 gods. So she is the serpent. This is the symbol of the serpent, very clear here. And we add this together is 14. Of course, 1 plus 4 is 5. And Mother Eve, the word Eve is 5. But before looking at that, we see there are two aspects in this presentation where Mother Eve is really showing us her true colors, so to speak. So basically, the snake has shed its skin and left its skin for us to see the makeup, examine it, look at it, test it, and to see how robust it is, or what can we learn from it that we can take on as attributes of the 14 gods, because this 14 also represents the 14 gods, and the serpent is saying, I have given you the 14 gods here to aid you to create man in your own image after your likeness. So you had better learn how to get the gods to work with you, understand the gods work through us, and basically that's the message here. I won't elaborate much more on that for now, because we are on 21 minutes now. Oh, it's 23 minutes. Oh, okay. So of course, 23 is really a wonderful number. Thank you very much. I am hoping that you have enjoyed this. Do like and subscribe again, and of course, share. Let there be light, and there was light.